Kantar BrandZ is one of the world's most respected benchmarks for brand valuation, a definitive study that quantifies how brands contribute to business growth. The 2025 India ranking values the country's top 100 brands at over $523 billion, nearly 13% of India's GDP. Built on over 145,000 consumer interviews and deep financial analysis, BrandZ reveals what drives meaningful difference, what fuels long-term equity, and why the strongest brands consistently outperform markets. It's more than a ranking. It's a playbook for building iconic brands in India.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of All About Marketing, where we discuss business, brands, advertising, and marketing trends. Today, we have a very special guest, Ms. Soumya Mohanty, Managing Director and Chief Client Officer at Kantar. And we are going to talk about the BrandZ report. So Soumya, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amey. Thanks for having me here.
Yes. To begin with, I would want to understand, it's been 12 years of BrandZ. How has the journey been for Kantar?
Very good. We have seen Indian brands evolve, and that's the most exciting part of the BrandZ rankings. To see how things change, but also to see how things remain the same. It's been a great experience, and there are some takeaways over the last many years from 2014 onwards. And I think it has become over the years the playbook for brand building in India, and that's something that we are really proud of.
Yeah. So today, if a brand marketer is watching this and is going through the report, what are the 2-3 top takeaways that you would say the report would provide?
I think what the report establishes, or what BrandZ establishes, is that there is a lot of value in building a brand. Brand is the strongest asset that you have. It's not a cost center. It's an asset. And so it gives you the confidence as marketers to go to the boardroom and ask for investment in brand. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is BrandZ doesn't only talk about the most valuable brands, but it also tells you what to do to stay in the ranking and what to do to get into the ranking. So it gives you a playbook of how to build brands on very strong consumer insight.
So we see a category leader like HDFC Bank maintaining its position and doing it consistently right. So what are the reasons you think that category leaders are able to stay leaders? What are they doing right according to the BrandZ report?
So there are a couple of things that have to come together for a category leader to remain as long as HDFC has. It has always been in number 1 or number 2. So one is, of course, there are category tailwinds, because banking has benefited a lot from category tailwinds with the way government has been promoting financial inclusion. It is a sector that is doing well. So that's the first thing. But that's not enough. You can get disrupted even in a sector that's doing well. What HDFC has done very well is it has, I think, done the basics very well. So it has maintained a consistent brand, which is a very approachable, reliable, accessible brand, right? For an Indian consumer, HDFC does not feel very distant. You feel you can trust HDFC. You trust HDFC. So it's a very simple thing. And then at the back end, I think they have done a lot to innovate, to become more efficient, to promote digital banking, to promote safety in banking. So they have done a lot at the back end, but they have retained that simplicity of what they stand for at the front. So I think it's a great example what many others can also learn from.
Sure. Another interesting brand that I saw was Zomato, which has grown the fastest. So brands like Zomato, which have had investor interest for a long time and also had consumer interest, right? So what is your take on that? What's happening there?
So Zomato, I think, has also turned the corner now. It's profitable now as well. What's worked for Zomato is that they are not just a food delivery platform, but they are an experience brand. And I'm not adding the Blinkit. That's not a part of the value. This is pure Zomato value. But if you look at Zomato itself, the integration of District, which makes them more of an experience brand, not just a delivery brand. And then within the platform, they have vegetarian, they have the health thing that they've done. There's a constant innovation. Some of it works, some of it doesn't work. But when you think of Zomato, you're always thinking of something or the other new that they're doing. And their communication, I think they have established themselves as this really witty, really on the ball brand. in terms of the way they talk to the consumer. And that's something that, just creates that connection.
So we are seeing consumer brands getting rewarded, but do they just offer value, or what would you say is the meaningful difference when it comes to BrandZ?
So, consumer brands, FMCG brands haven't done well, by the way, in BrandZ. And some consumer brands have, some have not. What BrandZ says is you need to constantly build your brand equity. See, there are times when, because the economy is doing well, because there is growth to be had, there's a strong investor confidence. So BrandZ blends consumer equity with, in a sense, market perceptions. So when the market perceptions are very strong, it raises all brands at the same time. So you don't have to have very strong consumer perceptions. But when market perceptions start getting calibrated, which is what has happened, then you need very strong equity. And what we have seen over the last 10 years, 12 years is that meaningful difference, which is our consumer equity framework, has got consistently eroded for brands in India. So what that means is, if there were 12% brands in 2014 that were high on meaning and high on difference, today only 5% brands are considered by consumers as high on meaning and high on difference. So which means you no longer have that moat of brand equity to help you when things become difficult. So that's pretty much what has happened.
Okay. And when it comes to multinational brands versus Indian brands, what do you think Indian brands need to do to make it to the top 100 and to sustain themselves there?
So there are a lot of Indian brands in the top 100. There are sectors like cement, which is all Indian brands. There are sectors like, BFSI is mostly Indian brand, all Indian brands, right? So, but that is for different reasons. They are all Indian brands. But if I talk about consumer Indian brands, there are not many. Most of them are multinationals, which had been in India for a long time. But I think one of the things Indian brands will have to do is invest in category building, invest in consumer equity. A lot of the times, it's easy to get growth in India because I can just have wide distribution, or I can get myself buy space on the shelf. That may not be as easy going forward because consumers are becoming they're making choices very much more carefully. And therefore, Indian brands need to invest in creating deeper consumer connections, in building brands, in understanding consumers. Because if they don't do it, who will do it for India? Because we do have a challenge of global growth slowing down, and a lot of the multinationals also need to build for India, but a lot of the multinationals at times have pressures that they face, which may not be able to make them invest the way they were investing in the past.
So when it comes to the bottom of the pyramid, there is a lot of government spend that gets a brand to grow there. We have seen the trend of premiumization. But when it comes to the large middle, and which is a growing middle, what do brands need to do there, in your opinion?
So middle is completely squeezed, and because, as you were saying, there are a lot of direct transfers that happen at the bottom, and rural continues to do well. Premiumization also continues, but the middle, the growth in discretionary income hasn't been that strong. Plus, I think the other challenge is optimism over future is also not that strong. So the middle is a bit anxious. What brands need to do is to first understand the middle, is a multiplicity of identities, understand them deeper, and create a demand. You have to, if you think back when we created categories in the late 90s and early 2000s, which is when a lot of consumption boom happened in India, brands went out and they celebrated themselves and consumption and the consumer. They need to start doing that. We are becoming very, very efficiency and optimization and short-term performance marketing focused. We have to move to top of the funnel. We have to move to brand building. We have to think a little more long-term than the next quarter. There's no other way out.
Any conversation today with a marketer is not complete without the mention of Gen AI. Maybe not once, but multiple times. So how do you see the impact of Gen AI in brand building?
Well, Gen AI is here to stay. I think a lot of the Gen AI is getting used for, again, cost optimization, right? For making advertising, which is AI-led, or just optimizing costs using automating processes, etc. I think we need to see if we can use Gen AI for exploration. We can use Gen AI for growth. Now, I'm not exactly an engineer or something, but I am sure that technology has uses that can help us unlock growth in the hinterland, unlock growth in rural. So I think we need to focus a lot more on growth rather than on optimization. And similarly, I would say we focus a lot more on employment, because finally that will create consumption, again, rather than optimization.
What is a big consumer shift, one or many, that you have seen that brands today need to be prepared for?
I think multiplicity of identities is extremely important for brands to understand. I think broadly they know there is no one India. You have to win in each state. But there is also no one, even in a state, there is no one consumer. I mean, you are a millennial, so there is a age angle to it, there's a life stage angle to it, there is a where I'm coming from. So there are many segments in India, and there is enough growth to be had if you know what is the segment that I'm targeting. And I'm not talking about doing hyper personalization, which is what brands are sort of. I'm talking about really creating meaningful segments and then having propositions for them and executing to it. So that is something that I think we need to.
Okay. And for a brand marketer who is today looking at it, trying to grow their brand, what would you say over the past 12 years, some of the everlasting trends that you have seen, and something new that you have seen that they should inculcate in their branding exercise to make it to the top 100?
So, make it to the top 100, it doesn't only depend on brand, on something that is completely under their control, but some of the everlasting things is that you have to build your brand equity. Consumers, so brand equity is a very simple term. Consumers should find you meaningful, they should find you to be different from others, and you should be salient. You should come to mind easily. I should be able to find you, and I should be able to remember you. I should create associations that I'm continuously reinforcing and refreshing. So that is everlasting. What has changed is how do I build my brand? So earlier, I could message through television, through many other ways. I had a big distribution network. Today, the distribution is not just offline, it is online. I can buy in multiple touch points. I'm talking to the consumer through multiple touch points. It's how you build the brand that has changed. The principles of brand building haven't changed. So if I was to say the connecting thread is find your right consumer segment, have a strong culturally resonant proposition, and execute against it. So that's sort of timeless.
Okay. And Soumya, one last question. What is your personal favorite brand story that you could share with us?
Well, there are lots, but Maggi is my personal favorite, right? It's also my personal favorite brand in a way. But because I think Maggi went through a lot of trouble, came back. It had such deep consumer trust that when it came back to the shelf, it was picked up, right? There was no loss of faith, no loss of trust. And then after that, it has continuously built new stories, new connections, innovated. I think what they know is that I need to be emotionally connected to my consumer. I need to know when do they consume me, what are those moments, and then I execute against it. And they've done it extremely well. Challenging right now with a lot of Korean noodles coming in and a lot of fragmentation. Right. But in a category like F&B, to be successful for so long is not easy. It's not an easy category. So much fragmentation, so easy to enter. I think Maggi has done a brilliant job. My favorite.
Yeah, I think when it comes to nostalgia, when it comes to reliving memories and feeling young, Maggi does a great job, right? Yeah. Thank you so much, Soumya, for this insightful conversation, and looking forward to the BrandZ report.
Thanks, Amey. Thank you.
Thank you.